Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for episode number 2. As you notice, there has been a slight wardrobe change. Slight, albeit slight. And I'm here with the two Daves and the doc, of course. So Mr. Pollard, Mr. Graham, Mr. Keogh. Notice I didn't say doctor this time, Colin, because I'm learning. I'm learning in the space of 30 minutes. I've learned. Look at that. Higher learning already in place. So we talked about last time, we talked about the process, what a PhD is and all the benefits and considerations that come alongside of that. But really what we want to focus on today is some of the other nuances of the PhD process, really around supervisors, around advisors, who helps you determine what you should be looking at. And really kind of the orientation process, for those of us who've been out of it for a while and coming back in, and even those that are gone from a bachelor's degree straight into a PhD, there's an orientation process. This is a whole brave new world. So we do want to focus on that level of energy. So let's start with you, David, because you're at the top of my screen, and why not? Supervisors. Let's start with the supervisory aspect of stuff. See, you've already been in education, so you've got a little bit of that kind of path and method going on right now. But supervisors, I mean, what's your view on that role within determining your PhD, or even kind of engaging as part of the orientation process? See, linking things together.
Yeah, from my side, I suppose I've been involved in being a supervisor for undergrad students outside of this space within the higher education setting. So really what we're told to do at an undergrad level is to be signposts and to be people who are able to guide and ask the questions that the person who is going through the process may not ask themselves, because they're either too immersed, they've got things going on. People are humans at the end of the day. They've got so many other variables in their lives that are influencing that sometimes the question doesn't naturally come to their mind. And all we're doing is touching base, asking the question. It might be a bit painful at the time for that student involved, because it's probably the question they don't want to be asked, but it's so important for them to make the right choice and to go down the right path and to steer them if they're going a little bit off. And I think it's similar. I think no matter what level you're at, we have a supervisor who I think we share, Dave, and I think it's going to be hugely influential in how we progress moving forward. But what I suppose I want to ask, what I'm asking of them, I think that's where we get to now is, what do we want from them is, again, that guidance, that critical mind that is at a different level to where we currently are, because, that's our scaffolding, that's our process to get to that point eventually over the course of the few years. And yeah, we're looking for those signposts at different stages. And it's not that they're going to be sitting, answering every single email, hopping on the phone to us, but they will be there. And I think it's even the understanding that if something really does go down and you need some support, that at that point, you've got that crucial person to respond. And it's less hand-holding, I would say, that even at undergrad level, but they're there. And I think that's important, even if it was just that.
Yeah. You mentioned the word scaffolding, and I think that's pretty much it, right? It's, there's this kind of cyclical relationship there. A good supervisor is invested in your future because you're invested in theirs. Everything that we do actually props up our supervisors to a certain extent, right? It either achieves notoriety, like, oh, you had that person in there. Ooh, that could be a good time. I mean, Colin, I'm sure Dr. Goodman's rolling her eyes all the time. Oh, Colin's involved in this one. There's this kind of nested success model that's in there, right? You're looking at both aspects of it. We have this a lot in marketing, my day job, right? Where we kind of look at how that message is kind of delivered. If I'm able to help somebody distill down this very, very dense topic into something that's very, very simple, I've won. And really won in an ostensible sense, right? I've really kind of helped them reshape or reformat or reframe, kind of the scaffolding around that core message that they're trying to deliver. So a lot of I see from at least, my background in psychology and helping people try to understand their innate problems. That's kind of what a supervisor is doing to a certain extent as well, helping you reshape, reframe, rescaffold that problem in ways that maybe simplify it, well, you know, Dave, you shouldn't be focused on this particular aspect. Maybe if you shift your focus a little bit and look at this particular aspect of technology or this particular aspect of neurology or so on and so forth, maybe you'll see things from a different view. And it's really kind of that provenance there. I mean, Colin, how did Elizabeth help you out in shaping your worldview?
Colin, on this one, can I just ask you as well, because this was something that stood out to me in terms of what Dr. Goodman was able to do, even just in a very small lecture that I saw her do, was to be able to say, you know, pick your 3 areas and see where that overlap is at. And I know that you've gone through that process, whereas we're kind of at the start. I'm curious about that one as well.
The circles of knowledge. Yeah. No, so I think, yeah, it's you guys, like, kind of based idealized role a supervisor has. You know, in a traditional program, they are going to be your subject matter expert. Funding, you know, you will be working under them on a specific project in their specific field and area. Now, ours is slightly different because it's impact led and it's human led. So we're going for impact. But if you want to see impact, there's no one better than Professor Elizabeth Goodman. You know, in that case, she's ideal, has made huge amounts of impact on thousands, if not tens of thousands of people all around the world. So basically, she's the guide on the journey. Your supervisor is your guide on the journey. They serve multiple kind of aspects, both in support of you and then in protection of you at the same time. So as well as an academic kind of sounding board and, you know, a guide in the field of research or in the field of study or in the field of academia to give you all the grounding you need and make sure all the work you're doing is of to the required level. Have subject matter expertise as well, and they're able to give you a frame and give you understanding of how your work fits into the field and if you're going on the right course. They're there to protect you then as well, because unfortunately every PhD journey is not seamless and faultless. You may have conflict problems. They're there to help you do it. And yeah, it's very, very similar to the experience you'd have with an undergrad and a kind of postgrad supervisor, just way more involved. You know, they become your colleague and your ally and your very good friend. And, you know, you publish together, research together, and you know, so it's a more kind of symbiotic relationship. You know, it's the better you do, the better they do, the better they do, the better you do. So it's in everyone's interest that you have the most successful PhD experience possible with the best outputs. In our case in particular, a really good bit is because we're impact focused and human focused, nearly everyone on the program is combining different fields together. Now, the common thread is generally technology, and, you know, technology and the use of technology impacts everyone's work. But, you know, trying to convey the overlap is activities like the circles of knowledge one is you can map your PhD with intersecting areas and fields of like, you know, expertise. So you can create a very visual your PhD maps in reality. And that's all the strength of supervisors. You know, it's kind of that will help you do it. So, you know, you guys will do it numerous times as you develop, because research is iterative. You know, ideas come, they ebb and flow. You might be adamant and like 100% sure at the beginning. It's bound to evolve and it's bound to change. You know, and mine did numerous times, as you kind of similarly to what we talked about last time, you vary scope. You know, at the beginning, new PhD students want to do everything, and I was guilty of it, and I'm sure the two of you are guilty of it as well. You know, you want to cover every field. You definitely do. Every field, every aspect, every area, you want to cover everything. And then as you dig into it and focus, your field of view narrows and narrows and narrows until you start focusing in on it. Now, I found in my case, and I've seen it in numerous other people's cases as well, probably midway through, it starts to open up again a little bit, you know, when, you know, you've got hyper focused and then you start broadening it out a little bit more to cater for some of the related and co-located and kind of, you know, adjacent fields for midway through, and then your kind of final year is kind of arrow focused then to your thesis at the end. So your supervisor's your guide for that. They keep you honest, they keep you accountable, they keep you straight, and you know what I mean, they make sure that you are delivering as you should and you're outputting as you should, as a PhD student in the field of academia. You know, we're going to push the boundaries of academia and what you can do, but it's credible, validated, certified, and follow that kind of scientific process. So yeah, and like that starts very early on, and then you have in addition to your supervisor, you have your advisors. So I guess that's the next stage of discussion. So you guys early on, I'm sure, have started to develop ideas about what sort of advisors you're looking at.
Did I? I don't know. I probably should at
If
this
not,
point.
You didn't,
you will.
Dave.
I mean, so on that note, on the, I'd like to just point out that Zoom has made, some of your emphases on your syllables wonderfully great.
It was ebbing and flowing a little bit like what you were talking about.
Exactly. A little bit like that. No, anyway, it was actually really good because it slowed down right in the part where you were making this emphatic point about the greatness of supervisorness.
I have point make mode turned on, don't you know?
Oh, you make you pretty mode? Is that what you turn on? Maybe turn that one off and just be yourself, Colin. That's what this is all about, right? Advisors, to get back to the topic at hand. Supervisor, obviously, you're kind of your North Star for your PhD, your development, right? Again, it's that symbiotic relationship. I think part of their role and responsibility, at least my conversation with Dr. Goodman was like this as well. Did you think about this person? Because the panel that you assemble, the people that advise your process over the years that you will be doing this, and it will be years because we're not going to beat your record anytime soon, Colin, though I will certainly give it my damnedest. I'm already 2,000 words in. Hey, me. Oh God, I'm gonna be dead by the time this is done. So that those advisors become important, right? So Dr. Goodman said, hey, what do you think about this person? Go look them up. Look up their CV. Look at what they've done. Do you think this person is good for you? Do you think, given where you're starting? And again, I'm assured that a lot of this stuff is mutable in the end, right? There can and will be changes as things go along. But being able to look at that and have their, let's say, acumen, their respect, their kind of presence in these fields, allows them the opportunity to go and kind of bring good people into your circle, your academic, your PhD circle as well. So, from an advisory standpoint, I believe I have two other individuals. I mean, obviously I know you, so you're going to be my kind of advisor on the side, if you will. But I have two other academic advisors as part of my panel right now. That are, we'll be meeting, I believe, this trimester, to at least have an initial conversation about who it is and what I'm doing around here. And that's been great. And they're a diverse crowd. One is based here in America, Thomas Jefferson University, I believe, out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area. And then one is out of UCD as well, so it's great. So there's a little bit of that kind of here and there kind of concept and different worldviews, different places that they are, different modalities that are, thematic elements that they cover too. So, I mean, Dave, have you sat down and taken a look at your advisory panel yet?
Yeah, I did. And I connected with them on LinkedIn because, of course, now we can do that. And especially because it's very difficult to connect in with people face to face. So yep. I think it's important to build up relationships, and, every little bit that you can do to I suppose, bring that relationship forward is positive. So it was more just a, hey, looking forward to connecting rather than a conversation, because, I think it's important to respect that advisors are what they are. They're not going to be the answer to everything. At the end of the day, we're supposed to be the researchers. We have to go and do the work ourselves. And hopefully then at points they come in again to be again a little, use that signposting again. I think that's important. One of the things that I did as well today was I actually connected him with the UCD Writing Center, and I was like, help me, I need support. We're going to have something due in a couple of weeks, the bibliography, and I wanted to just touch base, show where we were, and to get some advice around how to create some frameworks and framing for questions that I want to have in my mind that hopefully will come naturally at a certain point. But for now, I'm not there. It's been a while since I was writing in an academic setting. So touch base with Dr. Hamilton, who's in there. And it was surprising how a short 20-minute conversation really helped me to go, okay, I actually feel a bit more confident now in how I approach it, just by asking the right questions. And although not a lot was said in terms of, there was no magic key to how I'm supposed to start writing and how I'm supposed to get involved with this. He did mention this idea that, at the end of the day, people in this scenario are researchers. So there's an expectation and a responsibility to work and to come with content, to come with the idea is well framed and established, and then to ask proper questions of those advisors so that they can really work with it, rather than saying, I need to get started, which is kind of similar to what I did today, but at least I had some work done in advance, which was good. So I didn't have to go in completely blind. And I think that was very important. So, you're taking some responsibility on, and then you're finding people around you to support. And I think what I'll be doing, I think it's something that has worked well for me in my career, is to bring people in, similar to what Colin mentioned, I think in the first episode, around looking at different disciplines, so that I'm looking at educators as designers, trying to create solutions to challenges, especially in our current climate, and putting the power back in their hands to be able to respond to those. But in order to do that, we need to look at the startup world. We need to start to look at the corporate world, different elements that are there to be able to go, what do you do really well that we can do really well, and replicate it and modify it and adapt it. And similar to research, I think it's important to find people who don't have the same mindset and who are willing to challenge you, not to have this echo chamber where you're hearing about the same things, which, I guess is what this podcast kind of does in a way, as, three bearded white guys, we're going to hear some fact that, it's common to us. And I think it's important to have people coming in with that diversity of thought.
Well, and I think you bring up a pretty good point, and I'd also like to counterpoint a little bit of it as well. Not everybody has the same, let's say, community around them that we do. We've been blessed to know each other. I mean, and it's been incredible. And again, all joking aside, there are things that we are each doing that intersect with each other. There is intersectionality. I mean, I got to go and mentor startups with Colin and Gene. That was incredible. And even a tail-on effect of that is it's actually helping my research today and what I do with elemental collision, right? And doing those community interviews and putting that out there. But for folks that don't have that kind of, that community built up, or haven't had the exposure to those type of things, I think, again, this is where that's that gap, maybe that dark area for some of us in terms of recognizing it. That's where things like PhD, the hashtag PhD live or academic chatter on Twitter, it's universally acceptable. There's a huge signal to noise issue there for sure, jumping in there, and there's a lot of noise, let me tell you. But those type of things, you're finding commonality amongst other people that maybe are on the same, layer as you in their journey as well. And hopefully we're adding into the signal side of that with this particular podcast, right? I don't want to be the noisy chump that's doing all that stuff. But I think asking, and to your point, Dave, as well, asking those questions, and if you start asking, you start being Socratic about what you're trying to do, you actually uncover so much. It's those simple questions. There are tools that are out there for us that are free, that are available. I mean, social media is an easy thing these days to jump in. It may take a little bit of effort to find, again, the signal amongst the noise, but it's there and it's accessible. And by asking questions, you suddenly start to enlarge your community. You start to enlarge those people that you can talk to that may have, oh, you should go talk to this. I know for myself, Naomi Timperley, who, I met for the first time in Derry, went out drinking as part of a startup conference, but that's another story for another time. The relationships I've been able to build with her, and that she's referred me on to, have built a network that's incredible. These are people that I've been able to talk to, but it came from one encounter. It came from one point in time and a chance. I got invited to something in a place that I had never been, and mostly because I was dogging somebody on the internet about doing it. Right. So, I mean, Colin, from your experience, if you take an outside in approach, how do people start to build that kind of advisory network, or how do people start to engage in order to get to a place where they have a pretty solid base? And Dave, same question to you, but let's let the doctor go first.
Great point. So then I'm looking forward to our episode on using social media for academia and Twitter, because we got great stories to gotten out of social media in the academic space before. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one already. But I think both of you guys hit it kind of really, really well when you said it's about broadening out your network. We, as you said, we are very lucky to be very well connected in the technology space that all of us operate in general. Now, it's mostly due to the fact we go to one and get involved in everything, but everyone isn't as lucky to do that. So in addition to your supervisor, your advisor network are the keys to the connection. So when you're building out your advisory network, they help you to do that. They help you to get connected options to people in the field and the area. So, it's very early on building this advisory network. They're your kind of jet fuel that will supercharge the kind of growth of your network and your connections. So choosing them, that's one of the aspects they provide. They then, as you guys have mentioned, give you insight from different areas, the kind of in your kind of wheelhouse or adjacent fields. They then, ensure you maintain academic integrity, and they're basically another support along with your supervisor that give you broader external area specific knowledge. So choosing them is very, very important. And like I was lucky enough to have some great ones. So I had like the great Dr. Andrea Bandelli, who runs Science Gallery International. I wanted to do focus on innovation inside the field of engineering and technology. And the Science Gallery is an amazing network for doing that, conveying scientific knowledge to the general public. I had some great advisors from the fields of engineering, from art, from creativity, from literature, from kind of science and business, and it allows you to build it out. And mine changed, you know what I mean, as it went along. My advisors changed as the project changed, and of course, it's not faultless. I had some issues, personality issues, and external issues with supervisors that it affected the relationship, but it kind of evolved. So choosing them at the beginning, your supervisors, your help, and they're your guide to, they will recommend, do you think these people can be useful for you? And then your own research, research them, people you admire, work you like that inspires you, work that's related. Read their work, understand it, and contact them. Don't hound them, but contact them, tell them what you're doing, appear serious and dedicated with a concrete plan in place. And I would be surprised if they don't offer to help.
Yeah, I can follow up on that one for sure, because I saw a PhD thesis that I'm reading at the moment for the second time, and it's helped me to frame my research questions better. But the woman who wrote it, I reached out to her, Dr. Dana Hendrickson, and it was amazing because it was just, again, through LinkedIn, put out a chat and said, love the work that you're doing, really curious, have you got any further reading that I could maybe go into? And just by doing that, I got a message back, nothing too much, but yes, here's a list of areas to read into. And again, that was really powerful, because you sometimes don't expect it, but when someone does respond like that, you kind of go, okay, well, actually, maybe the questions I'm asking are in the right direction. And even by going through that process yourself and by reaching out, you might find yourself going, oh, actually, maybe that's not where I need to be going, or that's not the right question. So you can find advisors who might be almost temporary or passing or fleeting advisors, whatever way you want to call it, who can support you at a particular point in where you are. So for me, that was very important to create my application. And also now, coming back, having gone through that process, it's important for me to go back and review that and say, actually, I probably don't want to do exactly what my application is stating, but I want to go in a space. And again, that one conversation has made an impact. So it's still impacting on me, even though the conversation was very, very short and brief and online and just through text. And I think as well, we can go into social media a little bit further, but not being afraid. People are on social media and they're on these platforms because they want to be there. They want to be connected with, they want this element of removing that red tape that's normally there, that sometimes is there through emails. And we become very formal, and it's, dear Dr. Kyo, dear Mr. Graham. And it becomes, and it's shifted, and it's kind of transitions into a more hey or hi. And, if someone approaches you on a street and they start with one or the other, how are you going to feel? And again, being a bit bold and a bit daring in these spaces can lead to a lot of positivity and having these people around you. I mean, it's amazing. And I think that's why we're doing this podcast. It's not really anything more than helping each other out, being in a space to just talk out ideas that are in our heads. We haven't talked too much about what we're going to say, but
I got a bulleted list. What are you talking about?
Colin has a bulleted list.
I mean, true.
An hour ago. So
An hour
maybe not.
But again, that idea of like even this little community of practice that is here, you know, we're not going to be officially listed in anything, you know, in terms of advisors and stuff like that, but we're probably as important as anybody in the process to each other.
Yeah, it's a trail of breadcrumbs that we're leaving, right? You know, if you can follow some of this stuff, I mean, again, all my research, my conversations are public. I mean, it's those type of things that, you know, we're just three regular guys. Legitimately, there's nothing outstanding or special about us. We're, you know, beggars in search of the next.
Despite the Forbes magazine there in the top left-hand corner of Colin's screen.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's blocking. I mean, I got nothing. None of this is mine. So, I mean, this is all other estimable people. But it's really that, you know, we're leaving these little breadcrumbs. And I think that's one of the, you know, and we definitely will have a whole entire thing on social media, I think, you know, coming up. And maybe that's the next time we do this. But that ability to kind of go out there and the art of the cold call, if you will, or just having that conversation. I found that people want to have conversations. It may not be in the way, shape, or form that we have imagined in the past, right? We're obviously socially distant now for good reason. You know, these new technology modalities. I had a Zoom chat. All right, fine. I get that. We're all fatigued by it, you know, constantly. But reaching out and taking that chance, you know, and you know, what's the worst that they could say? No. I mean, and a no just means you move on. You move to the next thing. And so being afraid, that's not a failure. It's only a failure if you never try. And really within that space, I think what we're trying to accomplish here, and, you know, we certainly are open for any kind of conversations that come in. And I want to be out there and having those with people as well. But the same kind of approach to how we approach our advisors, how we approach our supervisors. I mean, I've experienced nothing but encouragement to have open conversations based on my conversations with you, based on my conversations with Dr. Goodman, and based on future conversations I'll have with my advisors. I want to know more. I want to reach out and talk to the list of authors that have written all the outstanding work that I've read so far. I mean, it's gotten to the point where I'm repeating their names evidently in my sleep, you know, like that's impactful. I want to be able to have that because they have maybe resources that I've never been able to see, and ideas there. So I think on that note, again, today, you know, two topics, but they're massive, you know, supervisors and advisors. I think that's a good place as any to stop with this one. And maybe next time we talk about a little bit more of the grind, more of the process, you know, what writing is like. I mean, David, I'm going to ask you to talk about the writing part because you did have the most recent journey into the writing center. But thank you for everyone for listening to us prattle on about us, you know, advisors and supervisors. But we hope to have you back. Again, all of us are approachable online. We're on Twitter. We're on LinkedIn, funny enough, as well. And we're happy to have these conversations with you at any given point. We're all learning, you know, regardless of whatever stage of life we're in. We're all learning, and we'd love to share alike.